And welcome to another edition of the All Angels podcast. I am Dan Garcia, and I'm joined, of course, by
Chris, the Curator Johnson.
and our special guest this episode. And if you know me at all, I am a huge Marvel and Disney fan. And so I figured, why not bring a guy that's worked in both and is also an Angel fan? So I want to bring in the directive creator of Marvel-themed entertainment and, of course, Angel fan, Brian Crosby. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here with you guys. This is awesome. Finally, we've been talking for a long time about this.
Yeah, it's great to meet up. You know, even like we were mentioning before we went on through Zoom, but maybe one day or we can do this in person at Halo Haven. I'm sure we can put that on the book. So, Brian, one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you on there, not only just because you're an Angel fan, opening days around the corner, but you've done some work with Topps Digital, I believe, and did a card. I'll bring it up. That's the Mike Trout card. I guess so. The first question is, how did this come about? How did this start? Who approached you? Who first? And what was the process to this whole card?
Yeah, sure thing. So one of my responsibilities at Marvel is I oversee kind of live events and partnerships and things like that, and that includes conventions and also kind of our pro sports relationships. So anytime we do like a Marvel superhero day or something like that at one of the stadiums, we've done it up in San Francisco and San Diego and various other places around the country and around the world, but frankly. And so sports is kind of, one of the things I've become heavily involved in. And we have an existing relationship with Topps to essentially do these, if I may use the term, kind of a Marvelized version of some of these professional athletes. And so I get sent to me this list of players that we're going to have artists draw, and we're going to do these Topps digital baseball cards for the Topps Bunt app. And I see this list and I see Mike Trout on the list. And, I'm a lifelong Halo fan. And so the first thing I said is like, look, awesome. I love this idea. But my second question is, what artist is drawing the Mike Trout card? And they said, we haven't assigned it to anybody yet. And I said, I would just like to throw my hat into the ring to go ahead and do the Trout
dibs.
Yeah, I'll call that one right now. And they're like, yeah, go for it. So that's how it started. And I did some sketches, and it was crazy to have this blending of things that I love with Marvel and art, and then of course Angels baseball and Mike Trout, and that day of like researching images of Mike Trout was like probably the coolest day of work. And did a few sketches, sent them off to Topps and MLB, and I think eventually made their way to the Angels. Take a look at it, and this was where we landed. And it was actually kind of, obviously this is the Angels iconography in there, but it's very inspired by the character Angel from.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So if you look at some of the older costumes that Angel wore, he actually had a halo in the center of his chest, and so that gave me the idea to put the Angels logo there, and then go with the wings and the whole bit.
Was he the first comic character that you thought of? Or because there's been comparisons, like if Mike Trout was a superhero, he'd be like Captain America kind of deal. But was Angel your first kind of idea to go to when you're designing this?
Well, obviously the name Angel, certainly popped into my head, and when I do these kinds of activations or pieces of art, I not only think about the player, but also the iconography of the team. Right. And like team colors and, team icons and things like that. So that's why I worked in the big A, the halos lit up, the whole bit. And I insisted that the halo had to be lit up when I said, no, it's not. And so I look at all that. So when I started thinking about putting wings on them, I gravitated towards the character Angel, and took some inspiration from that. But it was just a ton of fun to do. Love doing it.
Yeah. So Brian, do you know if Mike Trout's actually seen this, your rendition or your card?
So I don't know. I think so. Taylor Cole, if you guys remember Taylor Cole, is kind of a family friend. He was actually signed by my brother. My brother is a scout for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
And he signed Taylor Cole a while back, and so he's, like I said, kind of a family friend. And we shot it over to Taylor, and I believe he sent it to Mike. So I don't know if through the approval process, Mike has to look at it. I know the Angels looked at it, but yeah, I'm not sure. I tagged him in everything. I was hoping maybe I'd get it.
So can you kind of explain just for the average fan, like what's the difference between like a Digicon exclusive card? Can I actually collect this card in the physical format, or is it just something that's digital?
Man, I really hope so. I hope at some point we can do these as physical cards. I know that's a pipe dream and something we've all talked about, but for right now it's digital. So you collect them through the Topps Bunt app. I don't know if you guys are into digital baseball cards, but it's really actually pretty fun. It's kind of scratches the collector's itch, and you can get rewards and play games and things like that through the app. And they took not just that finished piece of art that you showed there, but also kind of my early sketches and showed my process, showed the inks, and then the final colors. So you can get different versions of the card as you collect. So you can get a motion card that shows the transition from sketch all the way to finished. Yeah.
So before you took on this Mike Trout kind of concept, cover art, like, was that something like you kind of did maybe even growing up? I know you're from the Orange County, lifelong Angels fan. As a kid or in your teens or even, a few years back, were you kind of like sketching, players, maybe the stadium? Is that something that you do? Maybe you had a game on a napkin, maybe like, somewhere around the ballpark in the club level or something like that?
Yeah. Back when I would keep score at the games, my scorecard was very illustrative. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I remember, looking at some of my old art when I was a kid. I certainly drew my fair share of Wally Joyner drawings back in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, there you go. Did stuff like that. It was funny because I played baseball in high school, and when I was on the baseball team, I was also the guy who was kind of an art and had this like art geeky side to me. But then I'd go to the like art people and I was the jock. I was the guy who played baseball. So I kind of never quite fit in either group.
A little bit on both sides of
Exactly.
of the spectrum.
Exactly.
What was your first memory at Angel Stadium? Is there a memory that kind of stands out to you more so than others?
The first memory at Angel Stadium, I mean, going to Angel games has been a part of my whole life. I mean, baseball's in my blood. My dad was a player in the 70s. He was a utility infielder. Ed Crosby played with St. Louis Cardinals and Cleveland Indians and Cincinnati Reds, and then became a scout later on. And you guys probably know my brother Bobby. He was the rookie of the year 2004 with the A's.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so that's
I had two Bobby Crosby game used bats in the garage. I gave to an A's fan
there
a couple years ago. Wow, I had no idea the connection.
Yeah. So that's
cool.
And my other brother Blake is the scout with Toronto. So, and I'm an Angel fan. So baseball's in the blood. But so I mean, we grew up going to the games, going to Angel Stadium. I think if I can, gosh, I don't even know what my first memory is of going to the game. I mean, so my dad is a scout. He would be able to get tickets behind home plate. So we would go and, I believe we went to one of the playoff games in 86. Yes, I did. I did go to one of the playoff games. I don't remember which one. It's just a blur because it was always just part of my upbringing for sure.
Nice.
So go ahead, Chris.
Okay, so
I threw you off with the Bobby Crosby.
I meant Bobby Crosby. My head's blown right now. I guess just Crosby last name, pretty like Johnson. It's like it's pretty common.
Right.
Didn't make that connection. Have I?
But no relation to Bubba. Bubba is not
okay. So I come from a very talented family. We actually met Brian, kind of crazy, 2 times at spring training. I want to say about 5 years ago. I remember walking along the concourse on the first base side. I think it was at Peoria.
Surprise, I think it was.
Surprise or Peoria, one of those two. He's walking by, he recognized us. We gave him some of the giveaways we traditionally do. And then kind of fast forward, I think about 2 years ago.
It had to be 2 years ago. I think
we saw him on the backfields over at Tempe.
You'll see the 2 years ago, yep.
And connected with him again. So it's like so just again, spring training is the time to kind of connect with fans, and It's been nice to kind of get to know you and then kind of see the process. And I know it was about a year ago, I think you said, hey, I got something cool coming out, just be on the lookout. And then all of a sudden you dropped that. So, so it's kind of cool to see the intersection of baseball and comic books. And Daniel, if you want to throw up that Luis Polonia. So I guess comic books and baseball have always had this kind of a weird marriage. So if you remember those Halo magazines, especially I was kind of going to the stadium right around the same time as you were. Halo magazines were a staple. You had to have them. They always were known for these, like the graphics were so cool or quirky. They connected to pop culture, but that Luis Polonia, and that looks more like a DC comic, not Marvel. But
I won't ding you for that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's like mentioning the Dodgers in front of an Angels fan again.
Yeah, I know. But yeah. So I think there's something about comics and just cartoon work in general that connects even within baseball. I went in the garage and I found this ball. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's like all comic book themed, like Mike Trout with the classic pow or bam or bang and all that stuff. So
awesome.
It's kind of cool how you could connect your two kind of like your two interests and how it works within baseball and how both are so much a part of pop culture in America. So I think it's really, really neat to see how you take both your loves and how you had that opportunity. I mean, geez, I can't imagine going to work and they're like, we're going to do a baseball themed and like, oh, Mike Trout. Nobody took Mike Trout. Really?
Well, I got to see the list first. So I had an advantage.
I was going to say, you're creative director. I think you pull rank on all those guys. You're like, taking Mike Trout. Thank you very much.
There's actually quite a few baseball fans at Marvel. There, a lot of guys in New York, a lot of Mets fans, some Yankee fans, things like that. And then, and so I actually got my job. Had a little something to do with my abilities, but a lot to do with my affinity for baseball. When I was I was a designer. I was a concept designer at Walt Disney Imagineering for about 10 years, kind of designing theme park attractions and things like that. And I got to know Joe Quesada, who is the chief creative officer at the time, kind of legendary Marvel creator. And he and I, once Disney purchased Marvel, I was working on all kinds of different Marvel projects. And Joe and I just really hit it off, became great friends. And he's a huge baseball fan. So what we really connected on was baseball. Like he was in town. We'd go to an Angel game. In fact, we came out with a line of comic books called Disney Kingdoms, which were comics based on the Disney theme park attractions. We pitched Joe the idea at Angel Stadium. So we went after D23 Expo. We went over to the stadium, caught the game, and I had my hidden agenda of pitching him this idea. So
yeah, that's a great business. Let's write it off as a business meeting. Let's go to the game. It works out perfect. I wish there's a way I can figure that out.
And then like being in Anaheim, like Disney and the Angels obviously had this symbiotic relationship. It's natural. Like they used to have Disney Day where you paid admission to Disneyland and you also got an Angels ticket. So you went to the park all day. And for like $3, then you went to the Angel game, and like there's all sorts of Walt at throwing out the first pitch at Angel Stadium. So and then also once they purchased it, and then kind of the cartoon logo that came as a result. So
yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned Disneyland and Halo magazine. One of my favorite covers was Wally Joyner sitting in the front of the Sleeping Beauty castle with all the Disney characters. Uh-huh. And I still have that one to this day. That one was fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of was our thing before, obviously COVID shut a lot of this stuff down. With me and my wife, we would go out to Disneyland Saturday before the 6 o'clock game or 7 o'clock game. We would spend, get there around 11 o'clock, leave there around 4, go tailgate at the Angel Stadium, then go back in. So it's like Chris said, they've always had that connection, and they still do to a point, because that Mickey out in front of Angel Stadium is still there from the All-Star game, a few years back. What are your thoughts? And this has always kind of been a running topic here at All Angels podcast about the periwinkle kind of designed uniforms. What is your kind of thought about that?
I mean, It was a different era. It wasn't my, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't my logo. I do own one of the, one of those hats. But I'm kind of an old school, Halo guy. The 19 logo they used in the 80s was kind of my favorite, 70s and 80s.
Okay.
But Periwinkle had its place. It was fun for a little while. It was a fun experiment. The pseudo sleeveless jerseys that weren't quite sleeveless. We can criticize the Periwinkle all the live long day, but what we got out of it was a beautiful renovation.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a which Walt Disney Imagineering oversaw that and designed that, and so we got a beautiful renovation. Got Edison Field out of that, which of course we now know as Angel Stadium of Anaheim. But so there were some good things. We had a rough, and it was.
So when you look at it, like in Major League Baseball, I don't think there's a stadium that's so thematic with the rock pile that connects to the region, the landscape, the lore with than Angel Stadium or the Big Ed, like you referenced, right? That name's kind of faded away, but the Edison International Field, and when the Angels came in and put that, and it has defined our field, just like the big, the Green Monster in Fenway. We have the rock pile, and I kind of going to how you talked about attractions, creating comic books based off attractions, concept art. My question for you, and this could be a hard one, if you had to create a attraction like based off Angels baseball, like what would that look like? Like, well, I had to create a ride from scratch that embodies the history, the imagery, the storyline. What is that like?
Well, so we do the way I would approach that, first of all, is you take this is not a pitch, right? So this is off the record.
Artie Moreno.
Yeah.
Artie Moreno. He's watching. I think he's on right now.
I would say, a big part of the ride part is the queue. I think that's where we really have, the guests that come to a theme park. That's where you're kind of captive for an hour, sometimes more. So we do a lot of our storytelling in that moment. That's where you set up, who characters are, what the world is that we're going to be exploring, how we're going to get there, things like that. So I would have a lot of fun designing that queue, going back into Angels history, going back to the Los Angeles Angels, going, the evolution of the logo, the players, all that have come before, the great moments in Angels history. And then I think it's got to be a flying experience. If you think, at the stadium, they used to do this entry or this intro on the Jumbotron, where like the ball was like flying through all the different stadiums and things like that, and then it ultimately ended up at Angel Stadium. I would maybe do something like that. So kind of like
are you talking about like soaring California or soaring over the world kind of thing?
Yeah, we'll be soaring over Angel Stadium. We get to feel like we're on, the trajectory of a baseball, flying past a baseball. We go circle the halo, things like that. But I think it's got to end in a fireworks show at the end.
There you go.
And so we could really that would be a lot of fun. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I want to do this.
And then obviously too, one of the big questions coming forward with the Angels is the stadium itself, and like you mentioned, there's so many. They got the renovation from Disney, and there's so much of this and that kind of, even your own personal memories kind of inside of it. As a fan, obviously they haven't said if they're going to build a new one, just revamp the old one. But as a fan, what would you want them to do with the stadium? Build a new one or just kind of revamp the one that's already there?
I think I wouldn't want to lose the one that's already there. I think, there's something to be said, especially in baseball. I don't know that the same level for nostalgia is felt in maybe other sports. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm a baseball fan, so I mean, I think history and baseball history is a big part of our affinity for the sport. So I think losing the stadium in its entirety, I don't know that I would be as big a fan of that. I think some of the stuff they've been showing looks really intriguing. I think building out the surrounding area. finding new ways for people to engage around the stadium. I think, figuring out, I think we do have one of the more accessible ballparks in the country, as far as parking goes. But maybe more grass areas you can play, areas you can tailgate. I mean, you mentioned spring training. That's become really one of my favorite, more recent traditions. Is taking my sons, and I go with my buddy Jeff, and we go out and he has his boys, and we do a little father-son outing to Tempe every year. It's like our bonding trip, and a big part of that is going down to those minor league fields and playing pickle on the grass and things like that. So I think having a little more space to play and kind of before the game and create a little bit more of culture and community around the stadium is really what I would be in favor of. But I certainly upgrading things in the stadium too, but I wouldn't want to lose the stadium completely. That's just me.
No, I think that's a lot of people too. Is like you mentioned, there's stuff we can obviously upgrade in the stadium, but the memories are still going to be there, even if you polish it up a little bit, if you will. So I think that's a lot of people. Now, kind of getting to the on the field product, if you will, kind of. We went through your Instagram and we found these concept uniforms, and for the podcast listeners, you can find these on his Instagram. We'll put his Instagram tag in the description. But kind of talk about, how often do you think about, what would you like to see the Angels? Like, is this kind of a normal thing, or was that just kind of a spur of the moment? Like, you know what, let me just draw this out.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe it's always fun to refresh. We're probably one of the teams that refreshes our logo the most often. So I thought, what would I do? It really kind of started that. It was with that question of like, what would I do if I had the chance to redesign the Angels uniforms? Because it came out of just a conversation I was having with some friends. And I wouldn't, to use a phrase, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think we got some really cool things going on with the Angels logo right now. One of my favorites, honestly, was in recent memory in the 50th anniversary when they used the gold halo. Yeah. I loved that. And I thought, what if we brought back the gold halo, which always kind of made more sense to me anyway. So bring back the gold halo. I kind of went with like a cream home uniform. I took the 80s logo, but replaced the A with more of a modern A on the sleeve. And then if you look at the visiting jerseys there, certainly inspired by like the 93 uniforms where you had the blue lettering across the front and the solid blue cap. I went back to the blue and red. It's because to me that'll always be my favorite look for the Angels for the home uniform. And then for kind of the alternate jersey, a solid blue. Again, you can really see clearly the gold halo there, and then not losing the red cap either. So what I tried to do is really touch on some of my favorite looks from Angels history. I toyed with the idea of putting the halo on the hat, but I restrained.
Like the old LA years when they had the halo on that hat.
Yeah, but this, and so I sent this to a few friends, and they're like, "Dude, I wish they'd do this. Like, it looked awesome." And so I decided to post it and tagged literally everybody that I could think of, hoping maybe somebody would see it. I don't know.
Get a phone call one day and be like, "Hey, we like your ideas. We want to bring you in." That would be
that would be like the feather in the cap. Is that you pretty much you want. Disney, love Disney, Marvel, now Angels. It's like the trifecta will be accomplished.
Orange County trifecta, yeah.
When I played high school baseball, I went to Pacifica High School, and my senior year, we were getting new uniforms, and I said, "Hey, can I take a crack at designing them?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And so that's pretty much how all my jobs come about. It's like, "Hey, is anybody not doing this? Like, I'll go ahead and do it." And so I designed our high school baseball uniform. So it was a lot of fun to do that. And yeah, this would be a blast to do. Even just this is high level kind of thinking, but I really did love when they did the gold logo or the gold halo for the 50th.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I'm loving when I was looking at this is that navy blue alternate. Yeah, that's from the CA years, right? You remember that CA right. with the red piping, and that's something that we lost. We always go with that red jersey, and I'm like, it's okay, but I'm not feeling it. We need the navy blue red bill combo on the hat. We need that. If I was in charge of uniforms, the players would hate me because we would wear nothing but wool. We'd wear all wool.
God,
We'd
and
wear
those 100-degree, August
100%.
Sunday games. Oh,
Chris,
Yeah,
you're a man after my own heart, brother.
all this dry fit stuff annoys me. I would go Tim McAuliffe, original 1960s uniform. They'd be wearing that K&M hat they wore in the early 60s. Yeah.
I love it.
Obviously too,
it.
and I'm pretty sure the times Brian, you've come across Chris at spring training, he probably was wearing his Halo Haven
wool jersey.
And
100%.
It probably was like 80 something degrees out there.
100%. Yeah, whether that game, I don't, whether it was Peoria, I don't remember, or Surprise. That's how. I mean, I didn't know it was the wool Halo Haven jersey. I'm like, boom, Halo Haven. I listened to you guys.
No, that's funny. So, kind of, obviously, like we mentioned, as we record this, we're 2 days away from opening day. So let's talk a little bit about the team as we see it right now. How do you feel about the team? How do you feel about, their off season and kind of everything going forward into the season?
I mean, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I'm excited about the team. I recognize that maybe 2022 might be even a little more interesting with some money opening up to play with. Perry Menasian is a friend of my brother's, and so he has good things to say about Perry and that we should all be very excited about Perry. So
maybe Perry's watching this instead of Artie. Who knows? Just saying.
Yeah. So I'm excited about Perry and some of the moves he's making. They really seem to be building a culture, which is what I felt like Sosha had. You really see that at spring trainings. You see that culture. Yeah. And you see them joking around and having fun and making bets on who can bunt the ball to hit the trash can and bucket of balls or whatever. And I love that we have Joe Madden in there. I think our lineup is second to none. Like I think we're gonna bang. As far as pitching, we'll see, right? I mean, there's some interesting moves, even some moves happening last night. Perry, at the buzzer, trying some stuff out. I don't think we got the big name that maybe a lot of us were maybe hoping for, but I think there's certainly some interesting things happening there, and I like what they're trying to build on. We have a tough division. Oakland's going to be tough always. Houston's going to be tough, but I think if things work out right, I think we're going to be moving in the right direction and might be able to find ourselves in the postseason. So I'm optimistic about it. I'm excited. It's spring. Everybody looks great,
we're all undefeated right now for sure.
I know. So, I'm excited. I love some of the young players. I think Joe Adell, I think he's going to find himself. I know he's struggled in the outfield for sure, but I'm excited for a full year of Shohei again. Trout's going to be Trout, and I'm big on Jose Iglesias. I think, obviously the plays that he's made defensively, he looks phenomenal. It's comparable to Andrelton Simmons. But I think he's going to be just a tremendous addition. So I'm excited. I'm excited about the season, and man, just can't wait to get out there and watch a game at Angel Stadium again more than anything.
Did you go to the spring training at all this year?
Oh yeah. Just got back.
How was that? I mean, because obviously you've been there, when everything's normal and you have full access to the backfield or you have access to the players. How was it different this year than obviously in years past?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Not having access to the backfields was a huge bummer. That's one of my boys, and that's one of our favorite things to do is go look at the prospects and, like I said, go down there and they're usually playing pickle or getting foul balls and from different guys. They usually walk away with 5 or 6 foul balls and they're pretty pumped. And so not having that was a bummer. Not having the access to the players and my kids watching them on the autograph hunt and things like that. But we hadn't seen live baseball in a long time. So being able to be at the stadium and get a dog and a Diet Coke was pretty cool. So I was good just being out there and watching baseball. But it was different for sure. It's been a different year.
Exactly. It's been just a different year in general. Exactly. So I've asked this to the people that I've had on to that cover different teams, but I'm going to ask you too and see what your opinion is. and obviously predicting a winner or what your team's record's going to be is really hard because injuries come up and all that stuff. But for the team that wins the AL West, and you mentioned there's some players in there, how many wins do you think that would take to win the AL West?
Well, I mean, I think you got to be in the high 90s at least. I think it's going to be a tough division. So I think if we can find ourselves in that territory, I'd like to see, for the first time in a long time, get off to a really good start.
Yeah, that's been the MO themes for a while.
It does feel like we kind of stumble out of the gate, and then we always finish strong, just like a few games short. And you're like, dude, if you could have just pulled out a couple more wins in April or May, that would have been sweet. So I think I'd like to see us get off to a good start and not feel like we're playing catch up all summer long.
Is there any? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So before you leave, I know you're a busy guy. You run Marble, kind of entertainment, anything that falls within those boundaries worldwide. You talked about setting up, events at baseball games, trade shows, Comic-Con. It goes on and on. So what does a typical day in the life of Brian Crosby look like? I just kind of want to know.
Well, like I got to build it around whatever the game time is. I love MPTV.
Yeah, priorities, got to get them straight. So start with the game time. Let's build everything around that. I love it.
Yeah, no, exactly. My family knows what's up. So
there you go.
no, a typical day, it changes all the time, which is kind of what I like. I don't want to get bored. I like being busy. At Marvel, we have pretty lean teams, lean organizations, and so you wear a lot of hats. There is a bit of a New York mentality that's infused into Marvel. Kind of like, we're going to move fast. We're going to have short meetings. We're going to get stuff done. We're going to go. And I kind of thrive on that. I like that. I like that pressure. And I'm working on stuff all over the world. I mean, whether it's Japan or here in the U.S. or Australia. I mean, we actually have a Marvel Stadium in Australia. So I oversee some stuff that happens out there. So I mean, I just never know. I never know what's going to come across my desk, and I certainly love when I get to dip back in and do some artwork and things like that. That's always fun for me. And so I like that it's always different. Like I said, I work with a lot of great partners, and because we have these lean teams, nothing is done. It's never just one person. Like, it's always a team effort, and I'm blessed to have great coworkers and great partners that are all in and wanting to do cool stuff. And so it's a great place to work. I loved working at Disney, and I love working at Marvel. So it's been a lot of fun, and now I get to do stuff like this and hang out with you guys.
There you go. And opening day again Thursday, April 1st. Do you have any opening day traditions?
Opening day traditions. Wow, I think I probably had more opening day traditions when I was a kid, because I was thinking about opening day, like for Little League too, and like what I was gonna do. I don't know that I have any opening day traditions, but it's certainly a day full of baseball. I do in addition to my regular day job, I do a drawing show. It's on Marvel HQ's YouTube channel, and it's called Marvel Draw. I teach kids how to draw, not just kids, but beginning artists and families, how to draw Spider-Man and the Hulk and Captain Marvel and different icons around the Marvel universe, kind of a step-by-step type thing. So I'm doing some recording this week. And I was planning on going down to San Diego and hanging out with my buddy, Jeff, who I mentioned, we go to spring training together. He lives down there, and we're going to just watch baseball all day. But I won't be able to do that, but I will be watching baseball all day, but also doing some video recording and then mixing in some baseball. So it's just going to be fun to have baseball back. So no, not necessarily any big traditions. I try to go out to opening day whenever I can, but unfortunately I won't be able to make it out this year. But I definitely try to hit at least 1 or 2 home games every month. Is that's a good ratio. That's really good. That's what we try to do too. So before we go, there's one Marvel question in our chat, and I want to see what you think of it. The question is, a lot of people felt Disney would commercialize Marvel and lose Stan Lee's original vision. How do you feel about the direction of the dream, Brian? The direction of the dream. Disney offers us a lot of great things that we probably wouldn't have otherwise. You think about like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you think about Marvel in the Disney theme parks, you think about all the things that we've been able to do being part of the Walt Disney Company. So I think this is exactly how Stan envisioned it, right? I think Stan saw the comic books as a way to share these characters and these stories with the world, and he was certainly in love with other mediums like film and TV. He probably couldn't have foreseen necessarily where we'd be going, how big the MCU would get, the video games, all the different things we're doing. In fact, we were lucky enough to have Stan do a cameo in two of the attractions I worked on, the Iron Man experience in Hong Kong and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout at California Adventure. We had Stan do a cameo there. So I think Stan loved it. I think he loved how big Marvel had become. And, we at Marvel all recognize that we are standing on the shoulders of giants between people like Stan and Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and so many others. And we're the kind of the current torchbearers, and we take that responsibility pretty seriously. So, I'm grateful for the job that I have. I know I'm blessed and fortunate and lucky, and so I don't take a single day for granted, man. I just want to work my butt off and do the best that I can as long as I have this little thing that I'm in control of.
Yeah, I can go on forever asking questions about Mission Breakout. Me and my wife have been on that ride. I don't know how many times, but awesome. Maybe for another time. So for our listeners and our viewers, if they want to see or see your social media, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. I don't really do I don't do the other social media platforms, but I'm on Instagram at Matt Wizard of Croz 23. That's Croz with a Z. And I post art, some of the fun stuff that I do, events and things like that. And sometimes some places I'm going with family and friends and whatnot, but mostly my artwork and Marvel events are posted up there. But yeah, that's where you can check.
If you're a Marvel fan or Disney fan, you'll be jealous real quick by checking out his feed. I know he posts.
That's not the intent. That's not the intent.
Yeah, he posts his premieres of either movies or attractions worldwide, and you're just thinking like, wow, what a trip that would be.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I recognize I'm fortunate to have this gig right now, so I'm doing the best I can with it, man, and it's just an honor to be here. And you know what, before we cut out, I know we've talked about doing this interview for a long time, and I'm just sorry to hear that about the passing of Johnny Maggs. He loved listening to him, so my condolences to you guys and his family, of course, and it's unfortunate that he can't be here to chat with us as well. So my heart goes out to all you guys for sure.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And I think it's going to be one of those things coming into this season. It's going to be maybe a little more difficult, and it's definitely going to be different. But the outpouring we got from fans like you and just people in general was really something to see, and it made Chris and I, and obviously his family, know and see what we saw in Johnny. He was very special. So thank you.
Kind of going back what you said, Brian, about being a torchbearer of Stan Lee, Johnny starting the podcast. I think that's what we are right now. We're just the torchbearer of his vision, and coupled with ours, and we can put our creative input and just keep it going. And I think that's what he would want, and that's what Stan Lee would want, is for new minds and to add to the vision and everything that he created. So
everything you guys do comes from a place of sincerity and genuineness, and just kind of a passion and affinity for the Angels and Angels baseball, and that's what I try to do with Marvel. Everything I do comes from a place of what would I do? What would I want to do if I were doing this thing? I'm a fan first, baseball, Angels, and of course of Marvel and Disney. And so I think the fans know that. I think they can sense it when people are really genuinely passionate about what they're doing. And I've listened to you guys for a long time, and I thank you for accompanying me on my commute. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great too. It's always crazy to to talk to a listener, because we talk about the players or media people, and we just kind of they probably don't listen to us. Whatever.
Yeah, I think you're the first listener
that at least
that's on the
says
podcast.
it. At least said it.
That's
I'm
not
honored.
like
I'm
that's not
honored.
just saying that, right?
Yeah.
So
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you slumming it today. I know. Yeah, you're doing on panels at Comic-Con, things like that, YouTube, all sorts of stuff. So thanks for making time out of your busy schedule and checking in with us.
That's
so
my pleasure. I told my wife, like, I go, look, I've done a lot of cons and things like that, but I'm so jazzed to go and talk Angels baseball right now.
Right? Yeah.
Awesome.
But thank you, Brian, again. I really, really appreciate it. Again, that's Brian Crosby, the creative director of Marvel Themed Entertainment. We are going to be back opening day, April 1st. Remember, we're going to have a live broadcast 6 to 7, first pitch. We're going to do giveaways. We're going to talk about the roster. We're going to do all that stuff. April 1st, again, 6 o'clock to first pitch. You can watch it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So be there. We're really looking forward to the beginning of the season. So until next time, I am Dallin Garcia. That is Chris, the Curator Johnson. And again, for our special guest, Brian Crosby. And you listen to another edition of the All Angels